Yo, what's going on? Welcome to Azumi Game Devtober Day 11. Well, I'm recording on Day 11. This is technically the video for Day 10. Yesterday was shit. and not because of anything to do with the game. The game's going pretty well. I just barely had any time to work on it because I forgot that I had a doctor's appointment. So I went to the gym, and then I immediately realized, oh fuck, I gotta go to the doctor's, and it's like an hour drive. So it was an hour drive there, it was like an hour long appointment, and then by the time I left, I was in normie traffic all the way back. It took like 5 hours to like, from when I left for the gym to when I came home from this doctor's appointment. The doctor's appointment didn't even fucking help. They're just like, oh yeah, there's nothing we can do. So it was some bullshit. And I was also pretty sick yesterday as well. Keto flu, still a thing, still making me feel like garbage. Feel like garbage right now. I'm gonna power through it anyway because fuck it. So we're just gonna talk about the little things that I did yesterday. In fact, I would say the biggest problem I guess with yesterday is that I spent a lot of the time building a feature that I ended up deciding I didn't want. So that was less than great. Um, Not a whole lot to show right now. Very, very minor tweaks aside from that feature. Um, yeah. So everything looks pretty much the same. The feature I added, I built it completely, and it worked. It just wasn't fun, I guess, to me. Oh, something you notice right off the back. I finally, after like a week, I added little smoke effects. So there's actual sprites there, not just some stupid placeholder square. And if we jump up on the wall, they appear on the wall too. And I think this makes the wall climbing a lot more dynamic. This small little thing adds a ton to it, and it just makes it feel a lot better. Yeah, so that was like this is probably the most visible change as I finally added that, and I think especially on the wall, it just looks really good. It sells it a lot better because like the animation itself felt kind of stiff. I was like, I don't know. It still feels kind of lame, but this works so much better. This one little effect makes it feel much better to me. So yeah, that I'm happy with for sure. I tightened up some of the logic. There was some vestiges of pre-states that were fucking things up. Like I didn't actually set collisions to be enabled in anything else but on the ground. So if you got hit in the air, it just passed right through. And I thought the dodge function was working, but it wasn't the dodge function was working. It was just that I'd never set hits up before at all. So if you just jumped on a guy, it would have been fine. So now, like before, you would pass through the guy and hit on the right when you landed, but now you can just tap at the top of him and you'll take damage. So the collisions are working better. Another very small thing that was edited is that I increased the acceleration and the top speed on shurikens, so they move across the screen a little bit faster now. So very minor, but it is there. The feature I was going to add that I worked on all day, for as much as I worked yesterday, was that I was gonna, when you jump on a guy, I put a little extra hitbox under Azumi's feet that was very small. And if you jumped and you are on top of an enemy and you hit jump again quickly, you could bounce off of them. And I thought that'd be a cool effect, like they do with like Devil May Cry and stuff. You can jump off enemies. Did not feel fun. Did not feel fun. The window was so small that it was incredibly frustrating to do. More often than not, you would just take damage, kind of like what I just did. Instead, even if it felt like you should have been able to jump off the guy, and it just didn't work. So I tried making the hitbox bigger, but then you would be jumping way before you actually touch the enemy, so it looked like you should be double jumping in midair. So the feature worked technically, but it just didn't feel fun. So I decided to say, fuck it, I guess that's not going to be a thing that we're going to do. So I cut that, and I just figured it's better to just use the dodge mechanic that already works to try and avoid enemy hits, because you can still dodge in midair. So if I'm about to hit somebody, if I just dodge through them, I'm fine. And this works 100% of the time and feels good. So I'd much rather have a technique that feels good than one that feels not good. So that kind of killed that. But oh, there was something else I was just gonna say. Oh yeah, somebody in the comments, because I made these vlogs public, because I was like, oh, Devtober's a thing, so I probably shouldn't just be keeping this myself, and none of my patrons mind taking them and making them public because I asked first, and they all seem chill with it. But like one of them, someone who commented said like, "Oh God, you have a stamina bar. I thought you were a fan of Platinum Games." And dude, you're fucking right. I feel dirty for having a fucking stamina bar, but right now I'm trying to figure out best how to balance the dodge because you're these are all iframes when you're dodging. So if you can just do it indefinitely, you can just go through the entire level invulnerably, and this jump will carry you pretty far. You can just go and go and go and go, and no one can hit you. So like it kind of breaks the game to not have some sort of limitation on it. I like I don't like a stamina bar because like then now you feel like you're waiting, right? Like, oh, I gotta wait. And someone said, "Well, do it like Dark Souls, and if you hit with less than the amount of stamina, it just takes the bar into the negative," which I guess is true, but it's still the waiting part sucks. So then you gotta wait even longer, and then there's gonna be time where the bar just isn't filling up, and you're like, "Why is my bar not filling up?" So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna fix that yet. Again, I'm gonna have to like really get more gameplay going. Like actually have more than one little enemy in a test area. And I think I have an idea now of what I want to do to call this done. This vertical slice done. Because the biggest problem, like the thing I know the least about, is level design. And I'm gonna have to like do a lot of studying and research on level design to make this all work, and that's like it's gonna take a long time. And I'm almost halfway into Devtober now. This is the 11th that I'm recording this, so I gotta do work today, and I still gotta build more enemies. I gotta refine the logic. There's still some little glitches that are gonna be taken care of. So there's a lot to do. So learning a whole new discipline on top of that seems like a fool's errand. So the idea right now for the final vertical slice that I'll be releasing on November 8th is going to be kind of like an arena thing. So I think what I'll probably try and go for is I'll have like a locked-in room with some platforms. Maybe like something like a Smash Bros. Stage or something like that, with like a bunch of jump-through platforms, and you'll be locked in the room, and you have to defeat X amount of enemies, and they'll be spawning in as the level goes on, probably with a cap of like 10 or something like that, so you never get too overwhelmed. But as you kill enemies, more show up, and there's a counter going down. So it's basically kind of like something like Doom, the new Doom, where like you get locked in a room and you have to like kill the waves until you win. So that might be the entirety of the gameplay, because that way I can spend all of my time worrying about tightening up the combat mechanics and not have to worry so much about level design because it's one room. And the level design will just be, is this room fun to maneuver around, and give you some options for positioning based on the combat mechanics presented. So it goes back to refining the mechanics. And the mechanics are the thing I'm really interested in right now, because levels can be iterated upon at any point, right? I can always, like, after Devtober, keep going and building this game up more, which is the intention, right? It is a vertical slice, it's not a finished game. So I'd like to have a couple stages, some bosses, and things like that. So I don't think I'll have time to make a boss, so the end of the stage would be unsatisfactory anyway. But if it's just like a section of a stage, you know, a locked-in encounter where you have to defeat X amount of enemies before you can pass through, then that takes a lot of the workload off of designing the level. I can focus on refining the mechanics, which has been the entirety of Devtober for me so far. So it's refining Azumi's mechanics and making sure she's fun to play. And it's getting there, dude. It's getting pretty fun. A lot of, like, the wall jumping feels great. I might add a bit more X distance so you can more easily jump, like, up and down platforms. Like, if I have, like, you know, another wall close to you, you can just easily jump back and forth. But, like, it feels good. The smoke makes more feedback, so that just feels better. The dodging feels great. Like, the acceleration on it's good. The one thing I might want to try and change on the dodge is right now, if you just tap the dodge button, you just go. It would be nice if it worked kind of like the jump, where you can like tap it quickly for a small dodge or hold it for longer. So that will take some work. The swordplay feels good. Shurikens feel nice. The states are working. So like game feels good. There's still some glitches. I know that like if I jump and then quickly dodge twice, like you can see it just kind of keeps going indefinitely. I don't know why it won't clear back to the regular state. So I gotta figure that out. it's hard to debug in Construct because it's not code, it's just events. So it's just like, I don't know, there's like 3 options I can do here. So I gotta kind of dig deeper or add more events to compensate for things like this. So yeah, this is also kind of proves my point of just like if I'm just dodging indefinitely right now, I can't be hit at all. So if I can just keep spamming the dodge button without a stamina meter, you can go through the entire level like this essentially, and just not get hit. So yeah, fuck. I can't even. There's no way to break out of this as far as I can tell. Once you trigger this glitch, the only thing to do is to restart. So yeah, that's a problem and that needs to be addressed. So I think the problem right now is that like how the dodge works is that when you dodge, there's a timer that's like half a second long and it starts counting down, and the dodge effect kicks in, and once the timer stops, the dodge effects end. But I think for some reason, if I hit it fast enough, it might like set 2 timers and they just keep going or something, or like the timer's never triggered at all, and now it's just like, I go into the dodge state, and the condition to leave dodge is when the timer runs out. So if the timer never starts, then you're never going to leave and you're totally stuck because there's nothing else you can do while dodging except change direction. That seems like logically what's going on here, but I don't fucking know how to fix it yet. So I'm going to have to figure that out. But yeah, I don't want to end the video on a down note with like, oh, I got a game-breaking bug. But fucking, you have to like intentionally trigger it. Like it's like you can hit the dodge button twice, like pretty fast normally, and you'll be fine. So it's not like it'll break the game unless you're trying to do that. But yeah, another thing that doesn't feel that great yet is like the controls feel good, but like hitting an enemy does not give you that big combo you need from an action game. It feels very wet farty instead of like good. Like I don't know, it feels weak. Come on, like the death kind of feels nice because of the screen shake, but leading up to it, it just feels kind of. So that's gonna be the next big thing to fix. But today, since I've been trying to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday as 3D stuff, I'm going to jump back into Blender for the most part today. I'm going to start designing real enemies. Because a red, flat skull is not going to be an enemy to play in the game. So I need real enemies. I have a design for one, and I'm going to work on designs for other ones. And then I'll make simple little 3D models of them, export them as sprites. I might even put up a video at some point explaining how I took a 3D model of Azumi and made her, 16-bit looking sprites. I actually might even redo the sprites at some point because I found a way to make the sprites look even better. I think I still have the raw exports floating around somewhere, so I could do it. But I would have to redo all of the animations. There's no way, as far as I can tell, to refresh them. Which kinda sucks. But, yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's feeling pretty good. I like it. I don't have a ton to complain about. State variables for the win. Like, it's made everything a lot more manageable. Things are good. I don't know if we're on track or not, because I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, I have some stretch goals if I can finish everything. I'd like to have like a cool little intro screen and like an opening cutscene in the style of like Ninja Gaiden for NES or Revenge of Shinobi. I have ideas for how those would look, but that's a lot of extra work, so I'm focusing on gameplay first. And those will just be, maybe if I finish like a week or two early, I can try and shove those in. That would be nice. But yeah, this is good. I'm doing good. I mean, I'm sick, but other than being sick, I'm doing good. I like everything, and hopefully you guys will like it. I do think I will be having a pre-alpha available for patrons soon. So now that these devlogs are public, and I mean, I always had this plan from the beginning anyway, patrons are going to get access to the game early. They're going to be able to play alpha builds because I don't want to create the game in a vacuum. I think that makes sense. People are going to notice things. One of my friends, I let her play it yesterday. I sent her like a preview link, and she caught some bugs that I wasn't aware of because, of course, if you're not me, you're going to do things I haven't been thinking of doing. Like there was a bug she triggered where like you can just run across this platform, and because they're not exactly 100% on the same, like pixel for pixel, the same place, there was some collision problems where you get stuck in a falling state. So those are things I got to take care of. When I design the actual level, I'll actually be doing it with grid snapping enabled, so that particular bug shouldn't be a problem. This was just quickly thrown together, and it was not designed for wall climbing or anything, because at the time wall climbing was not a thing I was thinking of doing. So yeah, and then another thing, she was quickly flipping around like this, and the hitboxes aren't flipping with the animations. So like the animation would be playing on this side, but the hitbox would be on this side. So there's a lot of things she was able to just figure out just by kind of messing around and like knowing, like intentionally trying to break the game. There is an interesting bug that if like you tap the attack button long enough, it'll actually end up being a 5-hit combo instead of a 3-hit, and I actually kind of like that. I might just keep that. I understand why this is happening, because like every time you release the key, it ups the value of the combo count. So if you do it faster than the animations finish, it won't exactly stay in sync. And there's a pretty good amount of give there. Like, you have to, like, again, a lot of these bugs you have to actually know about and to intentionally do. As long as you're playing the game relatively normally, they're fine. So even if I can't figure them out, I don't think the game will be completely unplayable. 98% of the time it should be good. But yeah, I'm rambling right now because I have a really bad fucking headache and I don't want to like start doing actual work. But I'm gonna go do that anyway. So thanks for watching, and I will be back tomorrow with day 11.